Z Decor Live. You just listened to Z's coverage of the State of the Nation, and on Z Decor Live, we're going to have our own version of the State of the Nation. We're going to talk about the state of Accra skyline, a very interesting discussion. That's much I can promise you. So I would introduce my guests, but not now. But I'll do a spot of music, and then I'll come back with today's DIY, which is actually an intro to the month of March, Ghana month, right? Independence, all that razzmatazz. So I'll be back with our DIY, then I'll introduce our guests. But first, a spot of music, as I said. Okay, so that is one of the new songs from, new song from Sefa featuring Stoneboy. For the month of March, we have not entered March, but we are technically in March. We have to stream all things Ghanaian because March is like Ghana month. Okay, so if you just tuned in, this is Z Deco Live, and you're tuned into Z101.9 FM, and this is our DIY segment on Z Deco Live. As I said in my intro, we are intentionally focusing on using what is around us, right, to make our spaces more lively, to make our spaces more interesting and more functional. Functional is always an important thing, right? One of the things that I want us to intentionally do, DIY, is to go out and source floor mats that are made out of our jute, right? We have got fascinated with all these imported mats which are made of plastic and are not able to, you know how we rub our feet when we step into spaces, and these mats made of plastic are mostly not durable because they are mass produced, because they are, let me just say, it's cheap. They are not able to do that efficient work of cleaning under the soles of our feet properly before we enter. But we have our local produced like mats, which serve that purpose well. That is also able to contain our weather of heat, especially. So they don't split, they don't expand, they are just perfect, and the local artisans have unique and different ways of weaving them together, right? And they are beautiful. They come in different colors, different textures. Some are dyed if you want them custom made, they can be done for you, right? These mats are available across the country in most of the artisanal markets. So you find some of them in Usu, you find some of them in the Ebri village, and you can order them directly from up north and some parts of the Volta region. Okay, so please, for the month of March, or our intro to the month of March, our DIY segments is please look for placemats. And you see, the placemat is part of the facade, part of the entry into your space, right? So you don't want to be to have an ugly looking, torn, weird looking mat in front of your door, right, before you enter any space. Okay, so that's not nice at all. All right, so let's do our commercial break, and then we'll be back to discuss proper.
Let's be honest, we all want more without paying more. That's why Melcom is giving you more for less. From groceries to home essentials, fashion, electronics, and more. You get quality products at the best deals possible. This is not a one-day thing. From 19th January to 17th March, the savings keep coming. So before you buy anywhere else, remember, Melcom gives you more for less. Melcom, your number one shopping destination.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Okay, and so we are back. And this discussion for me is very important because it is a critical part of our, what is it? How do I even start the thing? When you hear about countries, and specifically, let me use the Arabian countries. Let me talk about Dubai. If you've traveled before, you've happened to see the videos online when the plane is descending. That's the lights, the buildings, all of that. We go and say, oh, this is a futuristic looking city. This is beautiful. You can already see how it feels. Then you come back to Accra and you're like, when I went here, this is not how it looked like. How come Accra is like that? It's the buildings that we are putting up. It's the type of buildings. It's how it looks like. So today, our topic essentially is trying to dissect and discuss that. And you see, these discussions, I always say, are important. They are very necessary discussions. We are building homes. We are renting spaces. We are doing all sorts of things at this particular time. So we need to understand, if we're understanding the right materials to get, we're understanding where to get the right permits, then we also have to understand that every building we put up, whether for personal or commercial use, must be important. And for this type of discussion, I can only bring an architect. They are the ones who design the buildings and the ones who put the buildings together. And there's a reason why this particular architect is here today. He's one of the most meticulous people that I have listened to. So I can imagine if I go and I say, I want this drawing, he'll be like, no, wait. Let's talk about this. You heard his laugh, you see. The laugh cry is gentle. Anyway, good afternoon, Hassan.
Good afternoon, Nabia. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you for joining me to discuss this very important topic.
I'm very happy to be here.
Amen. Now, this discussion, let's start like this. How does your day go? Typical architect, what do you do? How does your day go? I want to soften you up a bit, I know. Mashadapa.
As a typical architect, I would say I don't have a typical day.
Mm-hmm.
It's very varied from day to day.
Okay.
But there are a few things that are constant.
Okay.
Which is that being a Muslim as well, I wake up before 5 a.m. As often as possible to say my salat. I have to take time to read the Quran, especially in this time of the year. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say Ramadan Mubarak to my fellow Muslims, because we are in the holy month as we speak. And and it's also Friday, so Jumu'ah Mubarak as well. It's a special day to be here. But yes, by day I work as an architect in different aspects of the field of architecture. So I do some interior architecture, I do residential architecture as well, and recently started some content creation. So I spend my early mornings, planning for, depending on which day it is, because like I said, it's very varied. There are days where most of my day is spent on site, just to ensure that things go as planned. And there are days where I spend it mostly in the office, doing a lot of design works and stuff. And there are other days where I'm meeting with clients. So I have very varied days, so. But typically by 5 p.m. I'm done with office stuff, and recently took up golf as a sport, as a way of, relaxing, but also staying active, because, we very often become quite sedentary in our line of work. So,
yes, that's true.
And I'm not so young anymore. So a gentler sport, or so I thought until I started.
I was about to say, but you end up walking, you have to try and make sure that the ball goes into the... Anyway. Right. Anyway, so I love the fact that you said you spend time on the site. So Accra skyline. Let's talk about skyline. We'll talk about what is it? When we see some skyline of a country, what is it? Don't give us the hardcore technical architect definition. I beg you.
No problem. I think a very basic definition would be what is a silhouette of the city.
Okay.
So if it's almost like a fingerprint. Every city has got its own morphology. It's got its own sort of characteristics, and at first glance, when you look at that city, what do you see?
Okay.
And is your city in a manner that people are able to identify it as soon as they see it? So as we speak, if I showed you a New York City skyline, you didn't have to see New York written anywhere to know this is New York City, or this is Tokyo, or this is Seattle, or this is Accra. So that's basically the abridged version of what the skyline is.
Accra, being our capital city, Greater Accra. Be very honest with me, Hassan. How do you see our skyline?
Well, to be honest, and I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to anyone, Accra's skyline is really not much to write home about. I mean, it's a city that has evolved not always through planning, so there's not too much intentionality in what we see. So at first glance, I would say it's not very appealing, it's not very recognizable, if you like. There's a lot that we haven't understood in terms of urban planning, and I'm sure we'll go a bit more in detail with that later on. But yeah, on the whole, I wouldn't... It's really a marker of where we are in terms of our development as well as a country, in the scheme of things. It's an indicator.
I laugh also because you see, when we say that, then people are like, but we are building high-rise buildings. We see all these nice buildings coming up. How do we marry the two? Because you and I know, and the truth is, it's not like anything to write home about, but we have these buildings coming up.
Yeah.
So how do we marry the two?
So I think there's a huge misconception that needs to be dealt with, which is that high-rise buildings are not a marker of development or how well a city is doing.
Thank you.
To be honest, there are cities around the world that are way more advanced than Accra. Sometimes some of them even more advanced than like cities like Dubai and New York, as we know them, in terms of the livability of those cities and how they cater to the inhabitants of the city, that do not have buildings taller than 30 stories. Even London, for example, had its first 30-story building not too long ago, in like a few decades ago. So the height of a building is not the marker of where the city is.
I'm so happy you said that.
to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really about catering to your inhabitants, the people who live in the city. What do they need at any particular point in time? And I think another thing is the buildings we are referring to as high-rise in Ghana, we are only referring to them as high-rise relative to what else exists. But in some parts of the world, these are like medium.
Very standard and ordinary.
Yeah, these are very, very standard. These are like dwarfed by the real high-rises. So let's get that. So we really don't have like proper high-rise in Ghana just yet. I mean, we are getting there, but not quite yet.
So with all of this, right, one thing that really bothers me is something that you just said, and let's go straight into it: urban planning. You know, I remember. I think we should have brought you in the beginning, but it's all good. We had the fire service here, the PRO, and one thing that he kept saying was that they're even supposed to see drawings. They're even supposed to assess the fire suitability of the space, but it doesn't come to them. And you know what? Whilst we was talking, I was like, it just comes back to one particular phrase: urban planning. Hassan, what is urban planning? I know what it is, but people don't understand it. What is it, and why have we missed it? Right.
I think I wouldn't say we've missed it.
Okay.
We haven't stuck to it.
Okay.
Because if you go as far back as the pre-independence era, you know, there was a lot of work done by Fry and Drew. I mean, those of us who are in architecture and the built environment would know those names. Maxwell Fry and Jen Drew. They did some extensive work at the time for the late point of the colonial government in trying to come up with a master plan for Accra and the direction in which Accra should go.
Okay.
And post-independence as well, Kwame Nkrumah was very interested in, urban development as, a marker of, at the time Ghana had taken on this sort of role, if you like, or like it was a bit of a role model to the rest of Africa to say, we are coming out of independence, we are capable of managing our own affairs, so we are trying to build a city that would be a city, a Krabeshe, like Akans would say. So there was a lot of effort. Some of the top urban designers from around the world were invited to come to Accra. So he built on what Jane and Drew did, with what it was then I think called the Greater Accra Metropolitan something. It had to do with Accra and Tema as a metropolitan area, and how they would use what they called at the time the Garden City concept. So Tema was conceived as a satellite. So for when Accra sort of best at its seams, to be able to skip to Tema and then create a green belt within the two. And then that would take care of our industrial development and all of that. So there have been plans. And beyond that, I mean, after the coup, we went through a period of uncertainty, a period of, change of government here and there, coming up till about the late 1980s, when we started attempting again to replan the city. So what has happened is that there have been all these different plans over the years. Some of them, especially the very early plans, is what shaped what we know of as Accra as we see it, especially the AMA area. And we may come to maybe what Accra really is. But the AMA area, as we know it now, was very, very well planned. The Rage Enclave, the ministries, all of that. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, for example, that in those areas there was, there were no open drains at the time. Even for some of them till now, there are still there are no open drains. They had a citywide sewage system, for example. So you didn't have to do your own septic tank in your yard all the time. So all of these were in place. The problem has been that there was a point in time where we deviated from that plan, especially because of the inconsistency in government systems and all of that. And then private money took over, and there was a whole we developed this unfortunate habit of lack of maintenance, lack of enforcement, and all of those kinds of things. And so the city took its own shape over a period in time. And then in the 2010s thereabout, there was also another attempt to build another plan. I remember in that plan there was the Accra was supposed to be capped after McCarthy Hill. So after McCarthy Hill, there wasn't meant to be any development all the way till about Kaswa thereabouts. And that was meant to be a green belt. I mean, by the time that plan was launched, as far as I remember, that whole place had already been taken over. And today you wouldn't even know that there was a green belt there. So there's been a lot that has been done over the years. It hasn't been very coherent. And then also we haven't followed through with those plans, unfortunately.
Yeah. And if I'm listening to you, just re-emphasizing what is happening, because all the different agencies are not being consulted, as in we don't go here, we don't check here, nobody is checking, and it's that like everybody feels they are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
That's why there'll be flood here.
Yep.
There's fire here. There's this here, because nobody's talking to each other.
Exactly.
Wow.
And unfortunately, instead of us to, in my opinion, to consolidate, all of these agencies over the years, what we have sought to do rather was to sort of decentralize. That was the idea, but it wasn't done properly in the sense that for Accra alone, what we know as Accra today, you have so many different, administrative areas. What used to be AMA has been subdivided into smaller, smaller authorities, and now even more so, there's a lack of cohesion in the planning. So one assembly does their drains up to a point, and then they leave it there, and then there's no connectivity to the next assembly, and then we don't go through the whole system of, from primary to tertiary drains and all of that. So it brings us back to our issue with flooding and all of that. So the issues are so myriad. You feel like sometimes just throwing your hands up and saying, can this actually be fixed? But yeah, maybe we'll get there.
The whole idea of decentralization, if I understand my small political science in Legon, is actually to make sure that we, the inhabitants, are able to access services.
Exactly.
So maybe if I want to do my passport and I live in Nkrakwanta, I should be able to walk into my district office there. But it doesn't mean that critical agencies shouldn't talk to each other, shouldn't sit down and say that, before we give, say, Hassan or Nabia a permit to build something, all these desks must be at one place so that I can walk from Office A, Office B, Office C in one particular building,
right,
and get all my certificates stamped. And I don't think there's something like that. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, right? So when it comes to cities, a city is an organism. Yeah. It's like an organism, right? So there are so many constituent parts, and if it does not act like one body and it's acting like different bodies, then that is where there's a problem. So it's important that we go back to the principles of urban design. Unfortunately, what has happened over the years is a lot of these plans, like I was talking about earlier, a lot of them were mostly at the policy level, right? The inhabitants of a city have to be brought along when it comes to what the plan is, so that they take ownership of it. Okay. So, for example, the last one I was telling you about, where there was a plan in I think 2010, 2014, thereabout. How many people knew about it?
I don't even know what you're
exactly.
talking about.
So these plans need to be broken down to a point where every inhabitant in the city, some way or the other, at least at the level that they are, understand what pertains to them. Yeah. So like with housing, for example, with real estate, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
That's actually the next thing.
Later on, and all of that. If I decided I want to become a real estate developer, what is the blueprint on which I'm going to build that business on? Apart from the speculation that everybody has to rely on their own speculation. Yeah. And do their own tactics to make sure that they are getting it right. But what's the policy? What's the coherent policy? What is the zoning like? When rezoning is done, is it communicated? Because sometimes there are areas that, for example, were supposed to be industrial areas, and all of a sudden they've been rezoned into residential areas. Now, do the inhabitants of the area even know that these areas or this land I'm selling, especially with the traditional authorities and all of that, do they know that this land I'm selling is meant to be industrial? So that if I sold it to someone knowing that they are going to do residential, it's something that I need to be cautious about, or I should caution them about. So those are some of the things. So we have not gotten the fundamentals right.
It's amazing. Let's just go straight into real estate, because now it looks like everybody is, I'm a real estate developer, I have nice condos. I have nice apartments. I have nice this. But one problem that I have as an interior person is you go into an apartment, you're furnishing, you're doing everything. You open the window and you look out there and there's nothing. It's just some weird looking roofs. You're literally looking into somebody's bathroom. What is happening?
Yeah. So there's something fundamentally missing, right? So for the longest time in Accra, we've had what you would call the planning side of things, where there's policy planning and settlement planning. Okay. Now, with settlement planning, when you look at it, you're looking at the city from a macro level. And Accra has been, even as it is now, when you look at Accra on a macro level, there's a lot of work that has been done. Yeah. Then there's also the architecture, which is at a more micro level, the individual lots, the individual plots of land and what's happening on it. There's something that's been missing over the years. That's the gap between the two, which is where urban design or urban architecture comes in. Okay. So we haven't really paid attention at all, in my opinion, to what I refer to as a human scale, experience of the city. But we know this, but there's a bit of a schism, if you like, because even in our administrative language, you look into our municipal and metropolitan assemblies and all of these, you don't really hear that language of urban design. You hear urban planning, and you hear architecture. So urban design seems to have been left to people to just do whatever they want. So, for example, what happens between me, my house, and my neighbor? What happens between my house and the street that is owned by the city? There's some kind of a middle zone, and that is just left to whoever, and that is where the kiosks, that is where the informal settlements and all of that then take up. Because in cities, if you leave a space, what we call amorphous space, you leave it will take a life of its own, because people have needs, right? And especially in our economic circumstances, we have people who are very low on the economic ladder. Yeah. And so they will take up the space that is available, that is left, that is not taking ownership of. They will take ownership of it, and they will do with it what they know how to, the best way they know how. So that accounts for the slum development, that accounts for the informal settlement. So you are in a high-class neighborhood, and then you've done your nice interior, you open your window, and then you look down, and it's a
rusted roof.
Exactly,
because someone's drying light.
Because that's the thing. We don't take charge of our space. I think it was Winston Churchill, the former Prime Minister, of Britain. Yeah. He said that we shape our environment, and thereafter our environment shape us. So that should tell you, So at the end of the day, the city and how we interact with it is so fundamental to everything that we do. Our mindsets, our health, productivity, time management, all of that. It's so fundamental. Unfortunately, it is where we have paid the least attention to.
Because I even say that the traffic that we go through every day from Monday to Sunday, it is just because some of the roads are just narrow, but some of if the houses were planned well, you could have 2-3 lanes moving, but because you reach a certain stage or place, then the road is so now everybody has to slow down. But you can see that the house is literally in the road. Okay. So are you going to break that? Hassan, do you think we should break the whole accord? No, because...
So I'm going to tell you something that will be a bit counterintuitive to what you are saying. I agree with what you are saying, but what you have described is a symptom. Okay. It's a symptom of the lack of planning again. Okay. But the thing about narrow roads is there are cities, I don't know if you've been to London Europe. There are cities that have some of the narrowest streets. The issue is that as you see, first of all, the roads are for cars, right? Cities are for people. Yeah. But we build our cities for cars or for people in cars, which is the minority. Yeah. Do you get it? So we are building a city that's supposed to serve the minority. Meanwhile, the majority are there. They still have to use the city. There's nothing we can do about it. So rather, we have to reverse that thinking and begin to say, why do we even have to have so many cars to begin with? Why does everybody need? Now, in Accra, having a car is no longer a luxury. It's become a necessity, because that's really, if you want to be able to if you like, to be sane in this city, you need to have a car. So as soon as anybody's able to afford it, they buy a car.
Yeah.
We continue to build roads to accommodate those cars. But if you think about it, and I did this experiment once, and it's not even my invention, it's something I gleaned from a TED talk I'd listened to earlier, where you look at, just stand by the roadside, during rush hour, and look at the number of cars that are stuck in traffic, and start counting the people in the cars.
One.
You realize that
Two.
this car that can take 5 people has just 1 person, 2 people.
Yeah.
You find a van that has like 3 people. Yet the majority of the people are standing by the roadside.
Yeah.
So the traffic is not the traffic of people, it's the traffic of cars. But what, as a city, we need to be doing is to transport people, not cars. Cars are a means of transportation, but they should not be the only means of transportation. We need alternatives.
And you don't want me to break the city down too?
That's the thing. You see, the thing about breaking down is also counterintuitive, because especially on our economic ladder, on the economic ladder where we are as a country,
we don't have money though.
So I mean, we can go into some of the theories on how to deal with, especially developing cities like Accra. There's a term called urban acupuncture, which is I really find very interesting. I don't know if you know about acupuncture, right? Acupuncture is really where they use the pins to try and heal you by touching certain spots with the pins. Now the thing about cities is you need to have what you call catalyst projects.
Okay.
So for example, when you want to change an environment, people are people. People will do what pleases them. People will do what comes natural to them, what economically makes sense to them. So you can't just go into, for example, a slum and say, let's pull down the slum and rebuild it. What you need to do is you need to take that slum through, and in fact, slum is not even the best word for it. Let's call them informal settlements. You need to take people through a process of changing themselves and owning that change. So usually what happens with urban acupuncture, and I think the first time I heard it was a firm called Urban Think Tank, who were charged to do some slum upgrading in the favelas in Brazil.
Okay.
And what they found was that anytime they put like a catalyst project, so for example, let's just use, I don't want to mention any specific neighborhood, but let's take a typical slum neighborhood where there's abject poverty. Well, sometimes not really, but let's say there's abject poverty, there's very bad housing, very bad sewage, just very, very like ramshackle type of neighborhoods. All of a sudden, the government or city authorities decides that we're going to put an international school, international level school in the heart of that neighborhood. Okay. Right? We're going to build it as if we're building it anywhere else. We're going to give it all the facilities that are necessary for what you call early childhood development and all of that. You put it right there in the heart of that slum. Right? What they found is that anytime they had an intervention like that, all of a sudden, the houses that are right next to this new, beautiful development begin to retrofit themselves for some reason. The people who live closest to it begin to aspire higher. Yeah. Somehow you start to see economic transformation in their own lives simply because of proximity. So all of a sudden, by this building and I need to paint this facade. No, I need to change these roofing sheets. You start to see it spreading like a cancer, but in a positive manner. Yeah. So it's like, it's one of the theories, and it has worked in certain areas. It's not always 100%, but it's using something like that and a host of other interventions. You're able to transform a city. But the bottom line is that there needs to be a vision. There needs to be a long-term vision so that we don't do things haphazardly. We have to know that in the year 2050 or by the year 2030, this is what Accra needs to be like. You understand that? And then we work towards it in steps.
Is it national planning development something? They always come up with something, Ghana 2025, Ghana, and I sit back and I'm like, is the architecture part of it? Okay, well, I will not sit here and say I've read anything, but it looks like we are just, we don't factor in that. It's more about, well, the money is important, but it's like we don't factor in the fact that the housing is also, it goes beyond affordable housing. It has to be intentionally making the spaces reflect what's we the people, the indigenous need, because if we begin to think about it that way and stop focusing on affordable housing, because the housing, it's not even affordable. You can't tell me that I should buy.
Do you want me to go into affordable housing?
Please, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Z1. Oh, Hassan, you made me laugh. You're listening to Z Decor Live, and this is being live streamed on Facebook on Z Multimedia, and also it's also going to be available on YouTube and to be repeated on Sunday. I'm talking to architect Hassan, and we are talking about like a real in-depth discussion. I have to bring him back because 1 hour will never be enough for this kind of discussion we are doing. But it is a good discussion, and if you just tuned in, you're welcome. Now, one thing that really bothers me in all of this is that when you want to, there has been an implosion of real estate, right? So who do they go to? Do they go like what? Okay, I've bought 2 acres of land, say in let me use cantonments, and I'm putting up high-rise buildings. Who do they go to? Like what happens?
Well, notice that they always name them luxury apartments.
Yes,
exactly. So these are usually speculative projects. Especially nowadays, looking to build on the short-let sort of market, thanks to Airbnb. But of course, you can't blame the developers. First of all, Accra does need real estate.
Yes.
But the question is, who are they building for, like you're asking? And because the vast majority of people in Accra cannot afford some of these. And we can expect private capital to go directly into real estate. You have to be really innovative and, take some very huge risk as a developer to go into that kind of level of real estate that you're talking about, especially the high-rise type, targeting, a lower income group of people. So the issue is, what is affordable? Again, that's a question that we need to ask, because everything is affordable to someone. And there's something that's affordable, that's not affordable to most people. So the question is, when we talk about affordable housing, what does it mean? And unfortunately, in a lot of the discourse, it is used out of context, because context really matters when you're talking about affordability, right? As a student of architecture and urban design over the years, I've gone through so many affordable housing programs. Started in the 90s, as far as I am concerned, those that I grew up to see, the Adenta housing flats, the Dansuman housing, Medina. These were very interesting projects. Exactly. And these were done at the time for the middle income, and it did a very good job at housing a lot of, people. Unfortunately, I think after the early 2000s, SNET, that was mostly the developer, diversified away from, investing in accommodation in housing, and started doing malls and hotels and stuff like that. But the issue is, affordable housing has to be very intentional. It has to be a program to house people who typically cannot afford. It's not about doing. You see, people mix these two things up. There's low cost housing and there's affordable housing. So those are two separate things. They have areas of overlap. Low cost housing has got to do with making the buildings that can serve the very basic needs of a certain group of people. Yes. And making them available to those group of people, especially people who can at the point where those people can actually afford them, but not always. That's another thing. Affordable housing shouldn't always be about targeting people who can actually afford it. So when you're going to affordable housing, you can be looking at doing standard buildings that should be going to the middle class, but as a policy, you are making them available to people of a lower class and creating a system that allows them to be able to pay for them. So affordability really, and another mistake is, affordability doesn't always have to be about buying a house.
Yes.
It should also be about affordable rents.
Yes.
It should also be about, affordability in terms of being able to live there and work wherever they work. And so that is where sometimes a very far off project sort of fall out of the equation. Because if you're talking about affordable housing and you're targeting the middle class and you're citing them in a place where they have to have cars to get to work,
you go put in Koforidua and tell me I should go.
Exactly. So I think that is where sometimes as governments we make mistakes, and I think so. There's a thing in Ghana that I've noticed, and this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, right? So a lot of the discussions about cities, the bottom line is that we don't even talk to the right people.
That's what I was asking. Who are we? Who do they talk? Who do they go to?
Yeah, we don't talk to the right people because the right people are a certain type of people who don't go out of their way to be seen and heard.
Yes.
Right? Unfortunately, and this one, I know you are not necessarily a journalist, but you need to talk to your colleagues as well. I mean, unfortunately, this is another year. There will be floods. We know this for sure. We will come to the radio station, we'll go to the TV station, we'll talk about these floods. We will invite people to come and talk about these floods. And these people will be economists and lawyers and politicians. Mostly.
No, it's true.
And we leave out the people whose real job it is to deal with some of these issues.
Well,
the engineers, the civil engineers, the architects, the planners, the structural engineers. These are the people we need to be talking to. Now, these are not people, these are people whose heads are usually down, either on the screen or down in the gutters or on sites.
Yes.
So if you want to talk to them, you don't... well, that's also another pet peeve. I mean, we need to talk to our own, we need to preach to the choir as well, where we as people in the built environment need to also come out even more because we have a huge role to play.
Oh, yes.
But the issue is that when these situations, we find ourselves in this situation, the conversation should be directed to these people. And then they are there. The people are out there.
No,
so many of them, there are people in Ghana who have gone out of Ghana to develop urban master plans that have taken cities from third world to first world. Ghanaians.
Yes.
And you never hear them on the radio.
Yes.
And even some of them who go out of their way to try and do advocacy and all of that, but they don't get the media coverage that they deserve.
That's true.
So I think that effort needs to be made because the city, we all live in it, and we need to make it better for ourselves.
Because sometimes you are driving in town and you're even looking at the construction happening, and you can just say this wall is crooked. So I sound like, so who on earth, but if it was like we had proper systems, like such buildings would be pulled down almost. You wouldn't even get to a certain stage when city inspection comes, and to build those systems of checks and balances, it is these people who don't like to be seen, but will be seen if you call them. They're the ones you go and tell them that, okay, so for a big city like Accra, right, the buildings are still coming up. What do we do? You're a structural engineer. Tell us. You're a civil engineer. Like, what do we do? And they'll tell you, this is how it is done. Put this on your team. It's not about going and writing stop work. No, and even that one is also another horrible thing. You see with some red marker stop. No, that one creates an eyesore. It's not just about that. Yeah. It shouldn't even get to that level.
Exactly.
Before you come and say stop work, produce permits by which date?
Let me paint this scenario.
Please,
so a typical building project in Ghana, you go out into the outskirts where it's a new development and you buy your lot and then you start building. And you get there, the road is not done. There's no water, there's no electricity, and all of that. So first of all, the city is not dictating to us what to do. We are dictating to the city what to do. Because we go and create all the mess without any direction. Then now the city comes in trying to say, no, you ain't supposed to build yours. Meanwhile, almost all these buildings have permits, And the thing that is missing is, I think the key word in the comment I made earlier and then in this comment as well, is meritocracy. And we haven't developed that as a culture where we give the right jobs to the right people. Because, look, as an architect, I send drawings to the assembly all the time for permits. And we all know that the person who is giving me the permit is not as qualified as I am.
He doesn't even understand the drawings.
As an architect. And that's a problem. Now, the conversation about, okay, why don't architects go down to those departments, those departments to work? And the truth is that they don't want us there. Because, of course, there are a few examples of some municipalities and assemblies and all of that where you have architects there. And you can see the difference that they make in these areas. For a lot of architects, if you look at the training we go through and,
It's how many years again?
It's 6 years.
Okay.
6 years in school. Then there's another journey to become a professional. So it's not very attractive to a lot of architects to go work in these areas. So I know that there has been a number of proposals by the Ghana Institute of Architects and whatnot to, try and create a system where we can somehow be a part of that system. Not necessarily as full-time workers, but some of us could be assigned to some of these municipalities to take care of specific things. Because look, you go to any advanced city in the world, and you go to a particular district, you know who the district architect is.
Yes.
So there is someone whose job it is to have, an overview of the entire city or the entire area, assembly, whatever they call it, council. And his job is to ensure that it is shaped in a particular manner. So that vision is already ingrained in the institution. Even when he leaves and another person comes there, that is still his job. And this is a civil servant, not necessarily a consultant. You understand? So his job is, what's the word? He has a security of tenure.
Yes.
So he insists on doing the right thing.
Things.
But if we subject these things to politics
Every 4 years.
change here and there, then we know we have a problem.
Hassan, let's break the city down. Let's break the.
Where are we going to live?
Let's do something. Let's break it. Let's get up one day and just break the city down.
I mean, there are some situations where definitely breaking is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's always a situation. I mean, when we have to build highways, we break buildings down and we have to compensate and all of that. But
that's true.
It's not every situation.
Don't mind me. My thing right now is that everybody is talking about green, going green, sustainability. Hassan, you people, I don't think you're part of the discussion though. Are you part? Are you part of the discussion?
Again, green. What does green even mean?
Yes, it's sustainability, breathable, all the basic functions of clean air, good water. Yeah. We have lots of plants. Enough adequate natural lighting. Yes,
exactly. I mean, it's green is basically a word for sustainability in general, and sustainability in general cuts across so many different things. So inherent in the trading of architecture is building sustainably, is being green. So as much as possible, we have systems to ensure that it becomes an ingrained part of the design process. So every building by default should be green in a way. So for example, it should be possible for you to have natural ventilation without having to use mechanical systems, fans or ACs and all of that.
And I'm not sorry to interrupt your thoughts. Why did we stop the louver blade thing?
Trend.
Hey.
Yeah.
The jalousie. How do you pronounce it?
Jalousie.
So I grew up on campus and.
Well, okay.
Those houses.
Yeah, I know where all of this is coming from.
Those houses. I'm like, we never put on any fan on any air conditioner.
Yeah, you never turn on the lights during the day.
I'm telling you.
Exactly.
And we had big, beautiful windows.
Yeah.
And we had the beehive, the walls. So it's like
bristly.
Anyway, so it's also the trend.
It's trends. That's the thing. And I think I listened to one of your episodes where you had an interior designer on, and you were talking about trends and how there are certain things that. And I was really excited about what she was saying about timelessness. There are certain things that just should not be subjected to trends, because fresh air. There's nothing trendy or not trendy about fresh air. So we've got to the point where we are using all of these glass panes where every time half of your window is closed, when you could have had twice the amount of air, and then there's also trapping the air in there. We've shown and louver windows. I mean, go around the world, go to Australia, go to especially the advanced tropical world. They still use louvers, and in more advanced forms. And the thing is, the reason why they got out of trend was also the looks, right? So for a lot of people, the typical louver window didn't look so great. The nets are always trapping dust and all of that. So you had to do these metal rods as burglar proofing. And so visually, they weren't the most appealing thing to look at. But the thing is, when you stick to the basics and then you apply innovation and design, that is when new ideas come up, right? So because we haven't done it for a long time now, we have louver blade systems we have louver blades in the system that are even more expensive today than the sliders. I tell people that. Exactly. You see, and that's because we haven't stuck to it and sort of mastered the art of using louver blade. We haven't advanced the designs and how they look and how they function and all of that. And so now we're having to import it, the newer systems, and then we're paying more for it than even the sliding. You get the point I'm trying to make. It's because we didn't stick to it. That's what happens when you're always jumping from, one trend to the other. You never actually build anything seriously. So timelessness is always very important. Go back to a lot of the buildings from the 60s, the university campuses, go to KNUST, go to UCC, go to Legon. A lot of these campuses have all these buildings that were, master classes in how we should build for our, a lot of people don't know
houses,
this.
Like bricks.
Yeah.
Proper, and it fits into our weather pattern.
Exactly.
I don't remember. I think the only thing we had to do on campus those times was to find wood polish because the floor was all. And Hassan, you've reminded me. What happened was because, the houses were being managed by. It's like how parks and gardens used to be. So we had like a unit within campus that took care of all those things. So when it's weedy, you wake up one morning and you see all these artisans coming. Yeah. They are weeding around. Like they go around inspection with their bicycles and their pickups to check, I hate food. This part is... You don't tell them anything. Yeah. So sometimes when I sit back, I'm like, where is parks and gardens? Where is all of that? Yeah. That's all part of the green thing we are talking about. You see people cutting trees in town and they are using cutlass and they are cutting the branches in a very odd way. I'm like, hey, you people, who taught you that? Hassan. I said, let's break the city.
There's this thing that I think there's something that we lose sight of. Especially, it came to me because you're talking about university campuses. These university campuses were meant to be model societies. Supposed to paint a picture of what a properly planned city and its management should look like. And even till date, I give props to a lot of the universities. I mean, some of them have deviated in terms of the vision, but fundamentally, especially the traditional ones, you can see very clearly. Like KNUST, for example, still has a central sewage system where they process sewage into fertilizer, and fertilizer is used for the university farms, and the university farms then feeds the university. Yeah. You get it? These are model, and then they have a development office, university development office, that is in charge of all of these maintenance and all of those things. Yeah. They have, a carpentry warehouse where they do all the maintenance of the old furniture, windows, all that kind of stuff. That's what the universities are for. They were supposed to help shape the future of the country, And there was a very deliberate attempt at the time, but fortunately, for some reason, we just got to a point where we started doing things anyhow.
And sometimes I even say technical drawing. I remember my teacher, so he's passed on, Mr. Opoku. I always say he is the one who made me love what I'm doing now. Because things, I remember the tendon joint, the mortise joint, the hammer, the chisel. Right. And these are things that...
Jesus.
So we had to draw like your white paper on your board, your border lines. Yeah. Then you have to measure. Then the pencil has to be sharpened. Yeah. You have to use a particular pencil. Yeah. All these things, intentional, what you're saying, to make us, like, when you are designing a table, a chair, a sofa, intentional measurement, all of that. Oh, Hassan, let's break this. I come back to that.
The thing about this technical drawing and all of that, the whole JSS system at the time, that was the intention as well. The whole idea was that once someone came out of JSS, if they didn't get to go to university or they didn't get to go to the secondary school, they should be able to take up, technical skills. And in our various households, we didn't have to. The whole idea was that if my door was broken, I didn't necessarily have to go find someone to come do it. I needed to be able to fix it myself. Yeah. So we've had the best of intentions as a country. If things, Ghana, I always say Ghana is the country that never was. There was a vision for Ghana, and unfortunately it never was. But who knows? We probably will still be able to build it.
That's why
we will still be able to build it.
That's why we're having these kind of discussions on Z101.9 FM, and that's why I'm so happy that we have people like Hassan, architect Hassan, who is very intentional in how he communicates to all of us. It's when we're having fun, then they tell us that, it's almost time.
Oh, really?
You see now. But you're going to come back. Not now, though, because I know you have so many things, but I'm going to drag you. I'll find you and drag you in somewhere next month and in the latter part of, no, this is of a what, begging, I'll beg you.
No worries at all.
But under a minute, right? I won't lead you into any question. Under a minute, you just tell us what it is that you want to leave us with, knowing that you're coming back, but yeah,
right.
Under a minute.
Right. So, I mean, talking of Accra, especially, I'm very passionate about Accra, as you can tell. And for me, there's one thing that I feel is fundamental, that if we can get right, everything else will fall in place, which is that we need to have a public transit system. And I think that is it's something that's actually within reach, because there's been examples in the developing world. Something especially I always refer to as a bus rapid transit system.
Yeah.
We already have the roads, we have the ring roads, we have the very well-connected city.
Yes.
We just need to be able to start looking at a public transit system that has its own exclusive lanes. And I'm passionate about this because once you're able to do this, I don't know any other intervention by a city that touches the masses, regardless of what your social status is, than a standard transit system that caters to everyone. And if you're able to get this right, then the knock-on effect is just tremendous, because then all of a sudden, the longest journey you make in Accra is 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Currently, it's about 2 to 3 hours sometimes. People can live farther out and still be able to get to work in time. It helps with business because transportation costs go down and all of that. And then just for human dignity, what we are doing right now is just so wrong. It's
so
just so wrong.
The things I like, human dignity. Oh my goodness, human dignity is crucial. I always end. I'm not ending it, but I always try and end the show by saying that furnishing is not supposed to make you frustrated.
Correct.
I always say that thing, and
Correct.
I'm so happy. Let me keep quiet. Please
Correct.
finish.
Yeah, and I'll pick up on where you just left off, especially furnishing. Yeah. When you talk about human dignity and furnishing, furnishing goes beyond the home.
Yes.
In public space,
Yes.
the number one indicator of an advanced country is the public space. Just go out into the public space, look at how people behave, look at what people do. Are people able to sit? Are people, if I'm walking and I'm tired, can I take a rest somewhere? Can I eat an ice cream somewhere? Can I just take a nap somewhere without being bothered? Do I have access to public amenities? If I have to go to use the loo, what do I have to do? Do I have to go stand at the gutter or behind someone's wall, or is there a nice place for people? And in Japan, for example, they have some of the most exquisite public washrooms.
Anyway, all right. So our time is up, but you can listen to this again on Sunday, repeat at 5 p.m. and it's live streamed on Facebook, so it's there on our pages, on Instagram and on Instagram, YouTube as well. So you listen to architect Hassan, and I'm not even going to close. He's closed perfectly for me. So don't tune off. There's so many shows from now till Sunday till next week when I see you again. All right. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you again. Bye.
In our quest to redefine modern living, Lakeside